The Gloam Eyed Queen is an Empyrean and mother of the Godskin who wielded the Black Flame and God-slaying greatsword, and yet for all of her importance and power, allegedly that to slay a god, we are left without any images of her, and very few references to her. She was defeated by Malekith, and many speculate that it was her we see having something torn from her, perhaps in her snake form, in the Shadow of the Erdtree trailer. Many hoped that the DLC would shed more light on this mysterious figure, and yet they were left with little more than a file name on a boss. There is a lot of credence to the idea of the Gloam Eyed Queen being a snake or associated with them. After all, we see many reliefs of snakes and women, often combined. A brilliant and very helpful member of my Discord, Swan, was generous enough to show me techniques to extract textures, and also pointed me to these wonderful reliefs on the Briar outfit. These depictions showing a terrifying baddie that is possibly the scariest looking rendition of Medusa I have ever seen, and this one, which is literally also a mermaid. Or this one, from Elphael. And yes, I know this is an asset from Path of Exile, but I'm a staunch believer that they select the assets they use with care and purpose, and I'll be demonstrating that in future videos in abundance. Her association to snakes is supported further given the Godskin's physiology, and my friend Kitetails identified what she believes to be an image of the Gloam Eyed Queen on a relief on the belt of the duelist outfit, which is also adorned with snakes depicting the face of what seems to be a woman. And I dare say she is correct. She further theorized that the depiction of the woman on the abductor virgins was Marika, given its likeness to the statue in Mesmer's room, who stole the children of the Gloam Eyed Queen. A theory I also happen to mostly subscribe to. You can watch her full video here, and I would highly recommend it. So what then was the nature of the relationship between Marika and the Gloam Eyed Queen? I think there is a point to the statue of Marika with the baby and the abductor virgin being so similar, and that is why what I'm about to show you next had me fall pretty deep into thought. Behind the snake-like whining figure around the Godskin peeler is the only image I can confidently throw my weight behind as being the Gloam Eyed Queen. After all, who else would this image of a woman with a giant cloth swaddling what appears to be a baby on the Godskin peeler be? I think this is the best likely image of the Gloam Eyed Queen I have seen, given it is on the weapon of her children, and exudes the imagery of the mother and her baby. Motherhood being something the Gloam Eyed Queen is associated with heavily in item descriptions such as the swaddling cloth, which reads, "Sacred cloth of the Godskin apostles, made from supple skin sewn together. The Gloam Eyed Queen cradles newborn apostles swaddled in this cloth. Soon, they will grow to become the death of the gods." I was stuck on trying to work out if what I was seeing in her arms was a baby, but all I could see was a boob. However, she does appear to have a giant cloth, which I hypothesize is the swaddling cloth of the Godskin. And when my friend Kate the Kind highlighted it for me, I found it even harder to deny that this was a baby, perhaps being breastfed. It even looks as though it has an arm raised to clutch to her, and her gaze does seem to be staring down at the baby. This image is very reminiscent of Marika and of the abductor virgins, so really, what is the relationship between Marika and her Empyrean counterpart? Well, from the other Empyreans we know of, they are all of them siblings. So it would make sense to me that Marika would be the sister of the Gloam Eyed Queen. There are, in my opinion, even some very subtle hints at this. If the Gloam Eyed Queen is so heavily associated with snakes, then perhaps the fact that the skin of Eagle is being defended by a Godskin noble means something. Perhaps the fact that this snake is also seemingly strung up like Marika is on her cross may also be another further nod to the nature of their association. I think it may also be possible that the way that Marika's dress is meant to be reminiscent of the snakeskin of Eagle, with even the end of this weird spiraling dress ending in what appears to be a tail. So where does the Gloam Eyed Queen fit into the timeline? What part did she play before her defeat at the hands of Malekith? To who was the Gloam Eyed Queen allied with? Who, if anyone, did she serve? The Gloam Eyed Queen and Meta not only share striking similarities in their appearance and sigil, but it even extends to Meta being the birth mother of all fingers, literally residing in a birthing chamber, and the Gloam Eyed Queen being referenced as having raised every godskin. And as my lore therapist Kick6 pointed out, her sigil looks an awful lot like a uterus. I'm telling you, this is making me way more uncomfortable about Marika at the beginning of the Shadow of the Erdtree trailer. I think these similarities are a little too much to ignore, and to me point to some form of connection. After all, Empyreans are chosen by the two fingers, and the god-slaying flame is one hell of a weapon to have, with one hell of a symbol to boot. We also find the Godskin duo in Farum Azula and in the Dragon Temple, where the Beastmen were awarded an extra finger by their god, who fled akin to Meta at the end of our battle with her. And we all know what god is obsessed with fingers. Finally, a Godskin noble, who, mind you, don jewels strikingly similar to that of Renala, is guarding the entrance to where Rani committed her sin. That same Rani who gives us the spirit calling bell, which, by the way, side note, is a box. 2 boxes. No bell to have been seen. Which Berry from my Discord noted seems similar to a spirit grave. And in the spirit calling cave, we find a snail that looks an awful lot like a snake, spirit calling Godskin to defend it. How very full circle. There are a lot of potential connections here. If the Gloam Eyed Queen truly is the sister of Marika, and Marika truly did steal her children, then that would mean Messmer, and potentially also Melina, his younger sister, are the children of the Gloam Eyed Queen. The statue in Messmer's chamber and the abductor virgins, as pointed out by Kite Tales, is a compelling argument for Messmer, and for Melina, we find some interesting clues about her in a village that also has a lot to do with skinning, and that is watched over by none other than a Godskin apostle. The maidens there don an outfit with strikingly similar imagery on it, and we are led here by a painting in the Round Table Hold, labelled Flightless Bird, that leads us to a prophecy of fire. Fire's deadly sin sets both the caster and the surrounding area ablaze with raging flames. The caster's body will remain engulfed in flame for a while, burning them and any who draw near. The prophet despaired, looking up at the Erdtree, for soon the kindling would burst into flame, bringing ruin. The burning of the Erdtree is the first cardinal sin that is not the domain of mere men. Just as Messmer was secreted away to the Shadowlands to lead an unsung crusade, Melina, Messmer's sister, was raised in secret in this chamber halfway up an elevator to the Forbidden Lands, where we find her blade watched over by an official who sits outside of her cage. The flightless bird long since departed on a journey to fulfill her purpose and the prophecy. 2 children, 2 kindling, kept secret to one day fan a respective flame of ambition. Not a picture or memory of them in the lands between. Unsung both. A son cursed with snakes and fire, a daughter with visions of fire and destined death, stolen and most feared aspect of black flame. Snakes and fire. The Gloam Eyed Queen herself does appear to be a marriage of snakes and fire, and as such, it is very telling that both fire as the first cardinal sin is to burn the Erdtree, and the Giant's Forge was sealed away by Marika, and the frenzied flame is feared, and snakes as the most base and reviled of the Colosseum share in their damnation. I wonder if all of this eventuated after the disappearance of Meta. But there is another race of beings who are engrossed in fire, and who have questionable-looking figures adorning their giant forge, reminiscent of a forked-tongue dragon as per the weapon used by the imps, and as a side note eerily familiar to the primordial serpents from Dark Souls. This other race also makes several appearances with snakes, such as the Colosseum duelist outfit, and other depictions showing less than impressed looking giant bearded men with snakes. I have no doubt that all of this is connected, and this marriage of fire and snakes speaks to a very important event in the timeline. If these associations interest you and you want to know where they lead, join me in my next video, where we will be exploring the origin of the Erdtree network, uncover the original sin, and perhaps even unmask the Fell God himself. The video after that will be my comprehensive dive into the timeline of the grandmothers, where the Gloam Eyed Queen will be making an assured return. If you enjoy my work, consider liking and subscribing, and if you want to support the channel's future, consider becoming a patron or YouTube member who get access to bonus and early content and more. A massive shout out to my current patrons and YouTube members. Your generosity and support will not be forgotten.